Hi and welcome to today's reading. If you're new to my channel, please like, share and subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back. All of my readings are timeless, so if you stumbled across this reading, there is a message in it for you. I don't believe in coincidences. Even if this reading comes across to you 3 years after it's been posted, you have been guided to this reading for a reason. A bit about me first. I am an intuitive tarot reader. I received messages prior to a reading. The messages for today's reading have been coming through for a couple of weeks. This is the third time that I've attempted to do this reading, and each time I do, I feel like there's something missing, there's some more information, and it wasn't until I did a reading yesterday, which should be posted in and around the time this reading goes up, that I realised that there were some extra bits of information that needed to come through. Specifically the term being thrown a curveball. Now, as I said, I am an intuitive tarot reader. I'm also an illustrator. So during my process of spiritual awakening, I was guided to create my own tarot and oracle decks. And all of those decks, you can see, I've got more actually that are available, but the ones I'm using today are all mine. And I believe that allows me to delve into the messages that I am receiving more intuitively, because the decks that I'm using have a personal significance to me in the fact that I illustrated them. Now, what caught my attention and the reason why I paused was I'm just looking at this lady. Now, this is the girl with the pearl earring, that painting. She is upside down and I don't like that. So I'm just going to turn her around. So I'll start by giving you the messages that I have been receiving, and then we'll go into the tarot. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a reading on the things that you are releasing with the South Node in Libra, and it was in regards to the lunar eclipse which happened on the 25th of March. Now, as I said, these readings are timeless, so if you come across it 6 months later, 12 months later, and there isn't, a lunar eclipse, it's not irrelevant. There's still messages in this reading for you. But that particular reading was in regards to the lunar eclipse and the South Node in Libra. Now, Libra is our relationships, the relationships that we have with family, friends, work, husbands, wives, pets, all of those relationships that make up our life, all of those soul connections, because I believe that everybody that you come in contact with, everybody that you cross paths with, you do so because they are part of your soul's journey, they are part of your soul's growth. So when the South Node is in Libra, and we're talking about the points of destiny, so currently, and I think they've been there since October last year. So the North Node is in Aries, that is where you are headed, and the South Node is in Libra. That is what you are releasing. So within that reading, I was talking about the relationships that you, at this point in your life, are reflecting on and are releasing. Now, part of relationships that can be released, and I didn't really touch on it in that particular reading, are those relationships in your life that end because of tragedy. So we're talking about death. You may have somebody in your life who is currently going through terminal illness. You may have just found out that you have some sort of terminal illness. You may have somebody passed away through an accident, through a car accident, something like that. You may have somebody in your life who has taken their own life. And the term that was coming through in the reading that I did yesterday was being thrown a curveball. Now, being thrown a curveball, the meaning of that, and I'm not sure if it's used everywhere, but the meaning of it is to surprise somebody with something that is difficult or unpleasant to deal with. So it's something that you're not expecting that happens, that throws you a curveball. Now, in the process of these messages coming through, I was watching a new series on Netflix called Three Body Problem. Now, within that series, and I'm not going to give away the plot, but within that series there are multiple people who, at a surprise to somebody else, either take their life. There's one individual who is dealing with terminal illness. A few days ago, I travelled with my son to an appointment in a city that's an hour and a half away. Now, it took us 3 hours to get there because a man, God bless his soul, had, for whatever reason, decided to run out into the traffic in front of a truck on the highway, on the motorway, on the freeway, whatever you call it, on the big, five lanes. We were literally stopped on the highway for kilometres and kilometres and kilometres because there were a million police vehicles and emergency services vehicles because this person had sadly taken his life. Now, on the flip side of that, I thought about the tragedy of that person taking their life, but I also thought about the truck driver being thrown a curveball. He got in his truck to drive to work that day, thrown a curveball to surprise someone with something that is difficult or unpleasant to deal with. Now, that truck driver will have some form, I imagine, of PTSD now. Any of those emergency services personnel, the same. The parents, the family, the children getting a phone call or a knock on the door to say something has happened and their whole life comes crashing down. The following day, now obviously this isn't a big deal, but it is another example of our neighbours from behind us had been cutting shrubs along our fence line, and in doing so exposed part of the fence that had been hidden under the shrubs, and discovered when they were replacing some fence palings that there were termites. Now, when I think about termites, and I know termites can literally, if you've got a wooden house, termites can eat through a wooden house in 2 weeks. And the symbolism of termites in relation to the themes that I was picking up on were that termites reveal what's rotten and termites destroy a home. So if this reading resonates with you, you may have been given some information that has literally torn down the foundations of your home. Everything that you thought your future would look like is now in disarray. Yesterday I saw a massive, massive rainbow. It was the biggest rainbow I've seen in a long, long time. And I went searching for different meanings of weather signs, because I think in times where we feel like our home, our world is crumbling, we feel like we've been thrown a curveball, we often look for signs and symbols. And if you are religious in any aspect, you look for those from God. It gives comfort and reassurance. So this big rainbow that I saw yesterday, rainbows represent a link to heaven, a sign of better things to come. Rainbows come after the rain, after the big storm. Now, rain represents God's voice. Lightning delivers illumination. And I was prompted to look for the sign for a tornado. And I've got a signs and symbols book. And that's the tornado sign there. Now, tornadoes are also a sign from God. If you are religious, as I said, in any aspect, Job received a sign from God in a whirlwind. Wind is a vehicle of divinity. And so if you are looking for comfort, go and look up some of those meanings, because then in your everyday life, when you see those little signs, it may give you comfort. The other thing I was picking up on is the not so pleasant circumstances that happen when somebody has passed away or somebody is terminally ill. Now, in that Three Body Problem, that series on Netflix, the character in that series was terminally ill, and he had family members who appeared in his life after an extended period of time. And I was seeing the Five of Wands, which is Saturn and Leo. Saturn is your karmic lessons. So these people appeared in his life after a certain period of time, portrayed themselves as caring, but all they were interested in was, and I'm hearing, what portion of the pie they were going to receive after he passed away. Now, that particular individual in that storyline was in love with somebody and had never expressed his feelings. And his storyline also ran through the thread of making decisions once you have been thrown that curveball. And that's where it ties in with the reading from yesterday, which surrounded around that song, I Don't Want to Wait by Paula Cole, which is when you find out something and you just make the decision to change the course of your life. Now, it can be something as simple as finding out that you are terminally ill and renewing your marriage vows. Finding out that your partner, your child is terminally ill, leaving your workplace to solely care for that person. Choosing to spend more time with somebody who's terminally ill. For many people, if it's not you that's unwell, it is a major, major, major opportunity for internal growth, for internal reflection and internal growth. Eternal growth. Why did I say eternal growth? Internal growth. Many, many people who pass away in our lives, and there will be many. Every person, your parents, your children, your friends, everybody has to leave this earthly plane at some point. And the ones that affect us most are obviously the people that are closest to us. It is part of our soul's journey with our soul family, those people that are near and dear to us in our lifetime here. Finally, I do random shuffle. I do meditation prior to a reading, and I do a random shuffle. So I just put my Spotify like songs on random. I meditate and I ask for messages in songs so that I can further convey the message. And normally I get given songs that, and I've just had an aha moment. Normally I get given songs that relate to personal experiences for me. So I'm nearly 50. I've obviously had 50 years of life experience. And so in my lifetime, there is a lot of songs which actually relate to many experiences throughout my lifetime. The first song I got was a Timothy Bowen song. Now, Timothy Bowen is an Australian singer. He is the brother of Claire Bowen. Now, Claire played, I can't remember her name. If you've watched the Nashville series, she was an actress in the Nashville series. She had the long, blonde, wavy hair, which she cut off, actually, in that series. So I went with a group of friends, specifically one friend, to watch Claire Bowen, who came to our city with a group of people from the series, and they played a concert. Now, at that concert was her brother, Timothy Bowen, who came on stage and sung the particular song that came up in my Spotify random shuffle. Now, the song is called Breathe Easy. I was at the event with a friend who was battling cancer at the time, and sadly, she's since lost her life. But that song came through for me because the themes within this reading are in relation to terminal illness. Now, when he came on stage to sing that song, he came on with a massive big hat on his head, big, almost like an American cowboy hat. He's Australian, but this American hat. And he took it off and his head was completely bald. He had no eyebrows. And he began to tell us about his own cancer journey. He'd been thrown a curveball and found out that he only had weeks to live, and he is still alive, which is such a beautiful blessing. But in that moment with my friend who was battling her own illness, him talking about his journey, that song truly resonated for her. And for me now, whenever I hear that song, I think of her. So you may have a song that reminds you of a person. And I will link that song and the lyrics to it because it is literally a song about his journey with his illness and the people that were around him and supported him. The other song I got was Morning Has Broken, which is an old Cat Stevens song, or Sammy Yusuf, sorry, an old Cat Stevens song, or he's now known as Yusuf. Now, life threw him a curveball. He had a near-death experience, I think in America. He was swimming out in the ocean and he thought he was going to drown. And he put his life in the hands of God and survived back to shore and then completely changed religion. He converted to Islam, which lots of people do. Lots of people find God or change faith in that process of being touched by terminal illness or loss or grief. I think of Sinead O'Connor. Now her son took his life and she went through a huge spiritual awakening and converted to Islam. I think about my friend who I was supporting through her cancer battle. And I know now, looking back on it, that it was part of a journey that I was meant to be on because probably 12 months after the time when I was supporting her, life threw me a curveball and one of my children became unwell. All part of this journey. And I know for me that stopping and slowing down my life, because I was one of these people that gave to everybody and did everything for everybody. And part of me stopping and slowing down my life in order to focus on things that my friend required at the time was part of that journey for me in slowing down my life because I had a bigger battle that needed my attention. Okay, I'm going to pull some cards. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that I need to... No, I think that's it. Okay, so this is my Lovebirds Tarot. I'm just going to pull some cards first and see what information comes through. Wow, now that came out yesterday. Actually, those two cards came out one after the other. So there are messages between this reading and yesterday's reading. Judgment. Now, if you've watched any of my other readings, I am very, very interested in the current Pluto and Aquarius transit. So Pluto in Aquarius happens every 248 years. Well, it goes through each sign. It takes 20 years, 18, 20 years to go through each sign. So it's every 248 years it rolls back around through Aquarius. And it is a time of massive revolutionary change. Huge changes in your life. In this particular card, these two are forbidden to be together. They make the decision to put their love first. And in doing so, this is a dragon, this is God. God turns them into a pair of birds so that they can fly away to their freedom. Making that decision when life has thrown you a curveball to drop anything that is not important to you anymore. A time to reflect and refocus on what is actually important to you and put that first. Ace of Pentacles underneath. Working out what is your Ace of Pentacles. As I said before, it might be, well, yes, okay, I earn a great amount of money, but my focus should be on, at home on the person that I love who is going through a time in their life where they need support. And as I said yesterday, well, actually I said it twice in the two readings that I tried to put out, what's more important in your life? And for me, when I think about the journey that I was on with my friend, and then the subsequent journey that I am on with my child. What is more important is your health, because health is the new wealth. You can have $1 million in the bank, but if your health is poor, then what's it worth? It's worth nothing. Making the decision to put your love first. This, as I said before, this could be two people deciding to renew their vows, finding out that somebody's unwell, deciding to renew their vows. And I just heard truth is a beautiful thing, allowing you to refocus on what is important. For the man in that three-body problem, once he found out that he was terminally ill, all he wanted to do was go away on a trip with his friends. Now, they were saying to him, he'd come into a lot of money, and they were saying to him, why don't you go overseas? Why don't you find somebody? You can pay somebody now. You have all this money. You can pay somebody to get, to get a second opinion, to get find out if there are other options in terms of treatment. And all he wanted to do was go on a weekend away at the beach with his friends and spend quality time with his friends. The finance, the money that he had, was not of any value to him. And that actually played out in that series when, as I said before, he had family members who turned up at the hospital when he was, in his hospital bed, portraying themselves as being caring when all they were interested in was whether they were going to receive anything after he passed away. And that goes back to that Libra South node. What are you releasing? Well, in his own death, he was able to recognize those people in his life that he needed to create boundaries with, that he needed to release. So even in his death, he was spiritually evolving in terms of learning lessons about how people operate. The Seven of Cups wanted to come out. That was on the bottom. Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords is a card of truth. The Queen of Swords is about recognizing, I'm seeing the Devil card, recognizing those people in your life that you need to cut out, or those toxic patterns in your life that you need to cut out. For example, we can even look at, if you know that you have been given a diagnosis, or somebody in your life has been given a diagnosis in regards to something toxic, so throat cancer or tongue cancer or liver cancer with alcohol, any of those things, recognizing it for what it is and how you got to that point, or how they got to that point, and making a decision to cut it out. That South node in Libra, removing, if you know somebody is struggling with mental illness, and you know that the people that they are surrounding themselves with are not conducive to a healthy mind, or maybe that's you, cutting things out. And I'm thinking of young boys who, because their brains aren't fully developed until they're like 23 or 24, doing crazy things like speeding on roads and, driving fast. And, if you know that for example, if you've got a child that's had a near-death experience with a group of friends, helping to see where that toxic pattern is coming from, and cutting it out. Got King of Wands on the bottom. King of Wands sometimes comes across as all the gear and no idea. So, you know, when I'm talking about these kids in trucks, you know, in Australia, it's you know, all the young kids have got a Hilux and they all want to go a Toyota Hilux and they all want to go off-road and driving in places where they shouldn't be driving and doing ridiculous things because they see all these videos on YouTube of all these really experienced people. But the experienced people show you the videos of how things can be cool and fun. They don't show you the times when they've they've flipped their vehicle, or the cost in, you know, the cost in life, or the cost in, you know, it's that King of Wands, that yeah, all the gear but no idea. Interesting. Queen of Wands. Sorry, Queen of Swords. Why did I say Queen of Wands? Two of Wands. Two of Wands is Mars in Aries. The plans that you make that lead you down a path where you're thrown a curveball. Or if I think about that guy in the three body problem, you know, he had planned never to express his feelings, but life threw him a curveball. And so he had to change his plans. And if it's illness, it's changing plans. You know, with this Queen of Swords, when people came in and revealed to him their truth, those family members that came in with this desire just to get his money, and perhaps maybe he had them in his will, but something was revealed to him. The star. The star is Aquarius. When I think of the star, I think of, you know, destined events in your life. So I believe that when you come to this earthly plane, you have a soul contract with the man upstairs, and your life is, you know, you can make, you know, decisions either way, but your life is planned out in terms of your soul group, your soul family, and all of the lessons that you are meant to learn with those people, whether it be good or bad, whether it is people that have your best interest at heart or people that don't. And it's all part of that journey, so that your soul evolves and grows through the lifetime, so that you can head down the path of what is for your greater good. The other thing I believe is that even though people have left this earthly plane, so people that have passed away, they are still part of your soul family. They were meant to be incarnated with you for a specific time on earth. And then once they actually cross over, they then act as guidance in your soul team from above. And literally they are watching the biggest reality TV show from upstairs, guiding us down our paths. And that's why it's really important to watch for signs and symbols. And then an example of this is my friend who passed away has got two adult children, and I was reflecting on her. I was driving one day and I was reflecting on on her journey, and I was talking about it with my daughter in the car. And we were talking about how difficult it must be for her children now that their mother has passed. And I said to my daughter, I hope that her children feel her presence around them, because I know that she most definitely would be around them. And as we were stopped in traffic, we looked over, and her daughter was actually a couple of cars ahead of us in the traffic. And the car that was in front of her daughter, the number plate on the car in front of her daughter's car was my friend's name. And it just solidified to me that my friend is around her daughter. And I hope in that moment that her daughter saw that number plate and felt her mum around her. You are getting signs all the time. even getting signs prior to when somebody leaves the earth. For probably the last 18 months, I've been driving past a church that is near to where I live. I always have my music in the car playing on random shuffle. And every time I drove past that church, I would get the song Toto by Africa. Now that church was called, the church is called the Victory Centre. And I had another friend pass away 6 months ago. And unfortunately, because of my own child's illness, I wasn't able to attend that funeral. But I watched it online, only to realise that the church that the service was in was the Victory Centre. And the song that they played as they were leading his coffin out of the church and through a guard of honour was Toto by Africa. God, your angels, your guides are giving you messages all the time in order to give you some comfort within a scenario that you are going through. And we've got the Ten of Wands on the bottom, which is heavy, heavy burdens. Saturn in Sagittarius, heavy, heavy burdens when life has thrown you a curveball. So this is my Divine Portal Tarot deck, and that came out fast. Page of Cups. Page of Cups is the love that you give yourself in these times. That hug that you can give somebody, that text message that you can give somebody, that meal that you can make for somebody in order to be a little part of the rainbow that needs to be there in their day, because at the moment they are going through a tornado. It's thunder, it's rain. They've literally been thrown a curveball. And that why do I keep saying Sammy Yusuf? That Cat Stevens Yusuf song, Morning Has Broken, allowing them to see that there is another day ahead. Two of Pentacles, which is Jupiter in Capricorn, and Seven of Cups, which is Venus in Pisces. There may be decisions that need to be made now that this information, now that this curveball has come through. I mean, obviously, if I take it in the context of our fence, we needed to remove the palings that were termite infested and replace them. Maybe something within an illness. There are some medical treatments that need to happen. With the Seven of Cups there, that's options. Maybe there's many options available to you. Queen of Swords, looking for the truth. Two of Wands, somebody making plans. Maybe you had planned to do one thing or deal with something one way, but you found out more information and now you have to deal with it another way. For 2 and 2 here, if I look at the guy in the movie, maybe he planned to give some of his money to his family, but once he recognized, with this Queen of Swords, this truth, once he recognized their true intention, he chose not to. And sometimes karma comes back to bite you in the butt. You might have somebody that you have had a falling out with 20 years ago. You treated poorly 20 years ago, or they treated you poorly 20 years ago. And I've known instances where that's happened, where somebody has done the wrong thing by somebody, and then parents have passed away, and now they need to make a decision on, how to distribute, family assets through the family. But because they burnt the relationship with that person that they needed a final signature on to distribute those assets, it's all these lessons that come in and about. And these are the hardest lessons. And there are instances where people think that they are part of the will and then find out once the person has passed away that they've been completely cut out. Queen of Swords. Because somebody who's been unwell has seen through all the, I would say, bullshit of this person prior and just made a decision. I think when life throws you a curveball, it's an incredible moment of clarity. It gives you so much clarity of what's important, what's not, who's important, who's not, what are the motives of people. And then you can make your choice, you know, Two of Pentacles. Now, you can make your choice going forward as to what you want to do. Nine of Pentacles. There's also, the Nine of Pentacles is Venus in Virgo. And if you have any connection to Mother Mary, Venus in Virgo card is actually Mother Mary. Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands is Aries, Leo, Sag. And as I said before, you know, Nine of Pentacles is, well, it's a card of freedom, but for me, from a religious sense and from a finding comfort sense, that's Mother Mary. And I think of my grandmother. She was in a Virgin Mary prayer club her whole life. And at the moment, for the past few years, I have felt incredibly connected to her. Some of the items that came to me after she passed away was a beautiful Mother Mary portrait that she used to have, or Virgin Mary portrait that she used to have in her bedroom, which is now in my bedroom. And actually I was thinking of putting it in front of this reading when I was doing it today. But I now really connect with her. I, you know, use my rosary beads every day and pray. And this Ace of Wands, the Ace of Wands is Aaron's rod. Ace of Wands was what was used in the first four plagues in Egypt when Moses was in Egypt. It was also placed in the Ark of the Covenant with the Ten Commandments. It was also there in, you know, in all the books of Exodus, you know, the parting of the Red Sea. It is very, very special. And sometimes when I look, I mean, it's a stick basically, and their little almond, there may be significance in almond. They're little almond sprigs that grow off it. And it was just a tree, like it wasn't connected to anything, so they shouldn't have. I mean, that's new life. But for me, the fact that it was in the Ark of the Ark of the Covenant, and with the Ten Commandments, it's a symbol of God. So we've got Mary and God. You know, oftentimes it is a candle. You know, it can. And while I was doing this, while I was doing the meditation for this reading, this candle, which is about, I need to redo the wax in it, but 3 times it took it to light. So I think of this as, you know, the light of God, you know. That man in that series, even though he had all this money, deciding just to put the rest of his life in God's hands and spend the time with people that he loved. That was what was important to him. Walking away from medical appointments and making the decision to do that himself. The Queen of Pentacles is very, very independent. Very, very independent. Making those decisions based on the information that you have, based on the reflection that you have done since being thrown this curveball. Eight of Cups is Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is highly intuitive. Saturn is your karmic lessons. Making the decision to walk away based on the intuitive knowledge that you have been receiving. Exactly what I just said. Not living by somebody else's expectations. And the King of Cups, giving that full cup of love to yourself. King of Cups is earth and water. When I think about that King of Cups, and I've got another friend whose mum passed away a couple of months ago, and he was struggling through, or is struggling through, those emotions of, you know, someone passing away. And I remember somebody said to me many years ago, after a loss that I had had, to get in the shower and cry in the shower because nobody can hear you. The shower's hot, and imagine your tears just running down into the drain of the shower and then floating away. And I tell you, it was the most cathartic experience. I howled my eyes, I bawled my eyes out in that shower, and it was perfect because nobody could hear. I could literally just, it was almost, I don't know what the word is. It's almost primal. So this tears, this crying that was happening while I was in the shower, sobbing and, and then watching all of those tears float away. If you are experiencing this sort of thing, hop in the shower and just let those tears float away. Okay, we got a 9 of Wands on the bottom. Three of Cups. Three of Cups is Mercury in Cancer. Cancer is the relationships, your family, your mother sometimes, those relationships that are around you. Mercury is communication. And all I'm thinking about is, for me, that finding solace in praying to Mary, communicating with, reconnecting with parts of yourself that maybe you'd let go of. Perhaps it's a mother who you found out something has been communicated to you about your mother or by your mother. Page of Wands. Now the Page of Wands is air and fire. The Page of Wands is somebody who goes exploring. And the fact that we've got it over these cards, and before I was talking about finding out a truth, having options, and then exploring those options. And again, as I was saying before, those symbols, those heavenly symbols, when you are sitting in contemplation, asking about something, look to those symbols. Rain represents God's voice. Lightning delivers illumination. Wind is a vehicle of divinity. Using those sources, praying to some rosary beads. Now, it may not change the outcome, but it may give you comfort and it may give you some sort of clarity in terms of what else is going on around that is removed from but affecting, the curveball that has been thrown to you. Oh, 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups is Mars in Pisces. 10 of Cups is your everything. That is your family, your home. That is, termites in the fence, termites in your home, destroying a home. And removing everything so that you have the opportunity to give your all to what you're dealing with. Justice. Justice is Libra. And as I said, Libra is the South Node. The South Node, what are you releasing? The people, the patterns, the toxicity in your life that is not allowing you to focus on what is most important to you in this time. God coming forth and showing you the behaviors of people in and around you in order so that you can release them, so that you can focus on yourself and focus on those things that are important. Knight of Cups, so that you can give that love to yourself, so that you are not giving it to everybody else. And as I said to you before, in that time when I was supporting my friend, I was wearing so many hats. I was doing so many things for so many people. And through that journey that I had with her, made me start to recognize those things in my life that I needed to cut out, and then in turn put me in a state where I could then deal with what then became my curveball when things in my life changed with the health of my child. And so I am so grateful to my friend for allowing that pause for me to be able to support her, because it then allowed me to be a better person for what was to come in my own life. Okay, this is my Divine Messages Oracle deck. Let's see what messages want to come through from your angels, your guides. Release and embrace new opportunities. Release the things in your life that are toxic in order to put yourself first, because if this is currently happening for you, it is part of the journey of your soul. Perhaps it's releasing a mindset of there isn't a solution. And in releasing that mindset, new opportunities are presented to you. Inner wisdom, clearing out the clutter in your mind in order for those new opportunities to be presented. Fall from grace. Now, we've got that on the, the Justice card, and in this particular section of the reading, we were talking about, we've got inner wisdom here. We were talking about the toxic people in your life that you have to release, that you recognize during this process of this curveball being thrown. Getting back to basics, making things nice and simple, just living day by day. And in doing that, there is a recognition of those people in your life that don't have your best interests at heart. Obstacles are lessons in disguise. What are you learning through this process? Where are you finding things that you are doing that aren't really important, that don't serve patience and perseverance, that don't serve your higher purpose? Enemies. Wow. Now, the reading the other day really, really picked up on this theme. So we've got enemies, hidden things that are done in the dark, lack of respect, and follow your gut. This is really about finding out who is there for you and who is there for their own benefit. And as I said before, everybody's on their own journey, but everybody is interconnected. Like all the readings that, tarot readers do, they're all interconnected. Things that were coming up in yesterday's reading are coming up, today. Things that came up in a reading a couple of months ago or, a month ago are coming up. It's all kind of looping around. This year is the number 8. It is karmic lessons that are coming to an end. Now, when we think of karma, we think of bad things. But karmic lessons can, well, it's dharma if it's good, but the things that you do good for people then come back. But yeah, this enemies, fall from grace, enemies, things that are done in the dark, lack of respect, follow your gut. It's all about evolving your soul so that you can recognize these types of people in your life. That's the lesson for you. So you elevate your soul. For these people who show a lack of respect, you learn to follow your gut. These people learn the lesson of how not to treat people. So you're almost on opposite sides of the same journey. Just you learn one thing and they learn the opposite. They get a fall from grace. You get inner wisdom. And on the bottom, we've got perfect match. Perfect match is like the north node and the south node. They are opposites. So they coexist so that each individual can learn the opposite side. So opposites attract, the opposite side of the lesson. You get inner wisdom, they get the fall from grace. And then when the next person comes along in their life who passes away, or who is dealing with, who's been thrown a curveball, who is dealing with something horrific in their life, they can then apply the wisdom that they have learned from previous experience, and hopefully the lessons that they have learnt from previous experience, and they can then apply it. It's how our souls evolve. Okay, this is my Angel Oracle deck. Number 60, Mithril, mental illness. And we did talk about that. We talked about somebody who perhaps is dealing with suicide. I don't know whether I can use that word, or probably. I don't know what YouTube's. I don't care. If this message is meant to get to somebody, then somebody who is dealing with mental illness. And I believe part of somebody's soul journey is coming to terms with who they are and their mortality. And when you come to terms with your mortality, it is a pure come to Jesus moment. And those people on this earthly plane that have had near-death experiences, have dealt with terminal illness or any type of illness, cancer, anything like that, have at some point in their life gone through this mental illness. Now, that's we sometimes we see mental illness as a negative, but in this particular context, mental illness is internal self-reflection, that internal reflection on your own mortality, because that's what happens when you have somebody that is unwell around you, or if it's yourself, it makes you think about your own mortality. And I even think about, so one of my children, or actually both of my children, had anaphylaxis, which is life-threatening allergies. And I remember when my daughter was 4, coming to terms with her own mortality, we had to have a conversation with her about, you can't eat particular things, because if you do, you'll have an anaphylactic reaction, you will die. And I remember her asking me, Mummy, will I know when I'm dying? And at 4, having that inner reflection, that inner thought process about her own mortality. And anybody that has been on this journey, whether you are a parent of somebody who's committed suicide, a spouse of somebody who has terminal illness, whether you have terminal illness yourself, whether you are going through supporting somebody in your family or a friend that has an illness, whether you are the ambulance officer or the police officer on the side of the road when a man's jumped in front of a truck, whether you are a train driver, because many people take their lives sadly by throwing themselves in front of trains. Whether you are the train driver or the truck driver, everybody comes to the point where they have to face their own mortality, and it's done through something in life that throws you a curveball. 37, Annie L. Philosophical knowledge in the arts and sciences. Like I said to you, came through to me in the arts and sciences. The arts is music. I first heard that song, Timothy Bowen, Breathe Easy. That was, in music. The show that I was watching, Three Body Problem. Arts. Arts is TV shows, movies that you watch. I think of that song, Wind Beneath My Wings, from the movie Beaches. If you haven't watched that movie, I mean, that's another song I can't even watch, the full way through. A song that reminds you of somebody that you love that may have passed away during this period. 66, Manikel, neurological disorders. Now, that card is for me, my daughter, in the process of supporting my friend through her cancer battle. Life threw us a curveball in terms of a complex neurological disorder. My other friend who passed away at the end of last year passed away from a neurological disorder. That card rarely comes out, so when it does, there is meaning. And when I think of my friend who passed away last year, King of Cups, that is who he was. And I just have to pause. Okay. That is who he was. That song, Toto by Africa, is who he was. Is who he was. 4 and 3 is 7. His birthday was the 7th of the 7th. That is who he was. Protection from your enemies. And now this is another card that rarely comes out. Metatron. Metatron is the celestial scribe. Metatron is destined things that happen in your lifetime that are meant to happen. Journeys that you go on with, in and around the people within your soul family that you are meant to go on. And I have a huge lump in my throat because the fact that Metatron comes out in a reading where I talk about two incredible people is actually really beautiful. And at the bottom we've got 65, Damabia, great fortune and spiritual protection. We actually did have Fortune's wheel under the King of Cups there. The Wheel of Fortune is that rainbow that you see after the storm. Spiritual protection for you and your family. Spiritual protection, I see that as for their families. And I actually said it, in the reading that I attempted to do yesterday. In the grief that lies after somebody passes away, what I take from it is the blessings that their children, and both of those people, the blessings that their children received in terms of the fortune that they received, and they may not realize it now, but the fortune that they received in witnessing the connection that their parents had, the love, witnessing the love of their mother and their father through this grief, seeing how tight a family can become is great fortune. How close-knit a group of friends can be is great fortune. And as I said, seeing how their parents' love story played out, even though it ended tragically, is great fortune for those children or for anybody in this sort of relationship, anybody in this sort of circumstance. Because like I said here with these, these two people running away or two people choosing to renew their vows, what you actually get to see as an observer or a support system in this time of need, in this time of great trauma, when you've been thrown a curveball, what you actually get to witness is the true importance of life, is the true meaning of life. And I think that's why we have Metatron here. Yeah, look, through hardship, Ten of Wands, we see great love, King of Cups. Okay, let's get, now I don't know whether I am going to use them. These are love messages. Love messages from somebody that has passed on. What do they want to tell you? I want to talk to you, but fear takes over. Possibly they are trying to connect with you through signs and symbols, or you are wanting to connect with somebody a bit like me. There are some songs which I can't listen to because they are so painful and so raw, and they are things that I've not dealt with, and so I'm frightened to listen to that song. But perhaps this is a message to say, don't block those emotions that are wanting to come through. Don't dam up those flood of tears. Get yourself into the shower. Put that song on that just takes you to that true source of pain. Put that song on and hop in the shower and cry. Let that release happen, because it's actually not healthy for you to keep it inside. Please have faith. This person is saying to you that there will be a rainbow, that it may feel like somebody's pulled the rug out from under your feet, Please have faith that they are actually walking with you. Like I said before, when somebody leaves the earthly plane, they don't leave you. They actually then act as your guide. They are so protective of you. They're acting as your guide. You just need to be still. You need to go into that hermit mode, that time for pause. Maybe reconnect with whatever gives you comfort. And I'm not talking about alcohol or drugs. I'm talking about, a pair of rosary beads, a quiet place in your home where you can create a little place of comfort and retreat, so that you can allow that person to connect with you. Putting up boundaries to those people who are around you, that's what they're protective of. Helping you put up boundaries to people that are around you that maybe don't have your best interests at heart. Past life recognition, what that is actually saying is that you have been on a journey with this person through many, many lifetimes, and will continue to be on a journey with this person in many lifetimes to come. Now, you may not be husband and wife, friend in the next lifetime. You may be mother and father. You may be, father and daughter. You could be siblings. But this person has been on many lifetimes with you. We need more balance. And in each lifetime, you have been as a soul connection, as part of your soul family, you have been learning the lessons of balance, of creating boundaries, of protecting yourself as you grow and evolve in each lifetime. Serendipity, because in each lifetime you are meant to connect with each other. And finally, on the bottom, you are a blessing. You were a blessing to this person in this lifetime, and you will be a blessing to this person in future lifetimes. You have been a blessing in the past. You are part of somebody very important to them who has helped their soul evolve across many lifetimes. And that is a blessing. That is why they are your soul family. So finally, I'm going to get now the Scrabble tiles in here. So I'm going to call out the letters and numbers on each tile as it comes out. This is just extra clarification if you have received messages in this reading but you don't get an initial coming out. That's okay. It doesn't mean the reading's not for you. Please just take what resonates. I'm just going to give it a shake. Okay, that's what I'm going to take. Okay, so I have got a B and a 3, a Y and a 4, an L and a 1, an R and a 1, an E and a 1, a K and a 5, a C and a 3, a G and a 2, a P and a 3, a W and a 4, a J and an 8. So that is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this reading. If you are currently experiencing loss, grief, trauma, I'm sending you all of my love, sending you a big hug. Please look after yourself, and I wish you all the best on your healing journey. I will link those songs in the description box. You might find more messages in the lyrics or the music videos. I'm not sure whether either of them have a music video, but if I find it, I'll link it. I will also link the name of that show that I was watching, Three Body Problem, in there as well. If you haven't already, you're most welcome to like, share and subscribe. And as I said before, if you are interested in any of my tarot or oracle decks, they can be purchased via the link in the description box. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope to see you again in another reading.